Welcome back to the game developing chamber of carnage, destruction, and general pretty I'm just gonna say it, we're just attacking the human race from the brainstem with this next game. So there's gonna be a lot of dark patterns. Okay, and all the dark patterns are gonna serve to keep people glued. They're gonna keep their corneas gorilla glued to the screen of the mobile phone, and then from there we'll just have to let everything run its course. So we do actually have some comments today, but also today's going to be a slightly shorter session just because Fridays tend to be that way because we're strapped for time. But yeah, so we have some comments, and let's jump into those comments. So if I check this out, we have a comment from Sebastian Milo, the God King himself. This series is excellent. I love it. I love you. Only person on YouTube making this much content on this sort of programming. This sort of suffering. The suffering must be documented. Yeah, there's a lot of cool people making. For example, Colin Galen makes a lot of. I guess that's competitive programming content. Maybe it might be more leak code flavored more recently, but leak code flavor definitely seems to be working for him, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so it's daily work, man. We got to get in there. We got to get in there and pretty much hit the grind set button. So hopefully the daily push can get us somewhere. I've been really happy with where we've gotten with the game dev as well, and I think it's just really cool to see how time flies, because now I'm just thinking, like, the way time flies now, it's more, I used to just kind of sit and be like, oh man, like my time is just melting away and I'm not doing anything. But now I'm like, as time passes, like, for example, people always talk about stuff like when time, you have your time perception thing going on, and you're like, I can't imagine that a year ago was last Christmas. Last Christmas feels like yesterday. And more frequently when I would imagine that, I'd feel like, oh man, like I didn't even do anything this year. But now with the daily progress, whenever I have that moment where I get sucked back and I'm like, oh man, a year passed, or oh man, like 2 weeks already passed. How did that happen? Now I'm like, 2 weeks passed, because I'm like, more time has passed. So it's just like, I know I've made at least 2 weeks of progress. So that's been very rewarding. So hopefully it stays that rewarding. And I'm sure only the benefits will only compound in the future, but got to stay focused, got to stay zonked in, so we don't lose track of everything that's going on. But appreciate the comment, and yeah, it's always good. It's always a feel strong. I just realized the screen isn't updating. It's always a feels strong, man, to see comments like that. So feel strong, man. And then we have the online gamer. I found your intro theme song, Redbone by Ashton Block. By the way, check your mentions for treasures. Hey, I actually don't. I could play the song, but then the whole video would be muted. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's not copyrighted. But we'll have to play something in the beginning because in these intros be dead. So I'm not exactly certain. Check my mentions. How do I check my mentions? I'm actually not exactly certain how to. We'll check. But hopefully we can find some treasures. You are the treasure. But yeah, we're going to just jump into it. Things are, we're strapped for time, so we just have to jump into it. And yeah, so today we have some goals. Some of those goals being the accuracy system, or the system that is going to make sure that the system that's basically going to make sure the system that's basically just going to tell us how accurate we're being, and it's going to scale the speed of our projectiles based on our accuracy. I'm thinking maybe it could be some kind of tiered system. Or if you're being accurate, then things are going fast. And if not, then they're kind of going at the speed that they would be going at. So I'm thinking that could be pretty cool. Maybe we could use some kind of bell curve, like a normal distribution for the speed increase. Well, where if you're at 100% of your accuracy, then you'd be at like 100% of your speed. Then it would feel like really nice. Whereas a linear scaling might not feel as drastic. So that could be cool. Yeah, let's try that. So we already have the accuracy thing working now. We pretty much have to scale our speed based off of it. We want to use a normal distribution. We have the projectile manager. Projectile manager, it might make more sense for that to hold the data that it would pull out. Because if it did, that would make more sense. We'd like to use a normal distribution. Assuming we have some base speed, which would be our mean, you could choose a base speed. So actually, let's open up the projectile manager. I'm going to drag it down. And we can already get our accuracy. The question that remains is the speed at which these projectiles should travel. Now, typically, I think we are instantiating the projectile here. But we're actually not passing it anything too special. It does have a track target script, which was actually it was actually giving it the speed. It would be strange to pass in the projectile, which would pass in the track target. I feel like it makes more sense. Simply give it a speed on right now, right? So track target does have I'm pretty certain track target has a speed property on it. If I go to templates and I drag maybe I should refresh this page. So we have projectile. I guess the tracking target script is added. And if we see this here, we can definitely see that it is added, and we give it a projectile speed already. So that is kind of ideal already. And it's given a projectile speed from this projectile manager. So maybe what we can do we'll destructure all of these in the method above. When we create the homing projectile, what we'll do is we'll actually just pass all these as an object. So the target entity will be this. It's actually kind of big. And the from entity, or the sending entity, will be this. And maybe it'll be easier if we just did something like this. Something like this. We could just pass the props in, and it would be less ghetto. And we have on hit func, and we'd also have something like speed, which would pretty much be this dot projectile speed. Could also make this simpler if we just said to entity, or we just said target entity and sending entity. So to entity is going to be the target entity, and from entity is going to be the sending entity. We can remove speed from here. And now for the projectile speed, we could just base it off the accuracy. So in fact, maybe projectile manager could just call the typing analyzer, and maybe we can say we have something like projectile speed. What if we want something different? Attributes.add. We'll say projectile manager dot prototype dot base projectile speed. Because if we check what's actually, it is actually using, projectile speed right now is 150. Now, is 150 a nice speed? Well, let me check once more. Okay. Well, now that they're actually firing at this, I think we have to swap get entity. Right. So now that's back to normal. And then the projectile manager could just be like, yo, give me like pretty much a normal distribution of the speed. And we could multiply it by the standard. Oh, if our mean was, if our mean is 150, we'd pretty much like accuracy to be how much of the speed we access. With you getting access to just a little bit more speed every time. That would be a Gaussian distribution. Gaussian distribution. That would be a Gaussian distribution. This distribution, that would be a Gaussian distribution where the mean would start at 150. I was reading about this in Nature of Code. Gaussian distribution, where things are going, starting from the middle at 150 and going downwards. We get access to less and less. We get access to a crumb more of speed at every moment. A crumb more of speed at every moment. Just a crumb, a bit more speed. A crumb, a crumb of more, a crumb, a bit more speed. A crumb more of speed. A crumb more. If we had a crumb more of speed. The value you'd get from a Gaussian distribution from next Gaussian between 0 and 1. The mean being 0. Gaussian distribution gives you a value. It's what I'll call next. You would get next Gaussian, and you would get a value. We already have a value. You already have a value between 0 and 1. We don't want it to scale linearly. So for something like 80%, I'd like to know where 80% is in respect to how much of the bell curve is left. Converts two independent uniform variates, 0, 1, into two standard Gaussian variates. This probably isn't very important because of the square root, log, and cosine calls, but this method is superior to the central. This just gives someone a randomly distributed is this really different? If someone's at 60% accuracy, you technically have access to 50% of your 60% of your accuracy. You pretty much have access to, let me see, 80% of your speed. Right, but I don't want once you get to 80% accuracy, the only speed you wouldn't have access to would be like 0.02%. So I don't actually think we want to use a normal distribution because that doesn't even make any sense. Maybe we literally just want to do your accuracy is your speed. You can get extra speed, and it's just going to be 1 minus your accuracy. So maybe we can try that and we'll just see how it feels. For the projectile manager, we'll add one more thing called projectile speed, which is our pretty much the base projectile speed. The extra speed you'll have access to could be, let's just say it's 100. And then here we'll have accuracy. We have typing analyzer, which returns accuracy. And I think what we actually want, we're going to want one more thing. We're going to want accuracy normalized returns accuracy bounded in range 0 to 1, right? And this whole thing is just going to remove the times 100 part. And then in here, actually we can still do 2 fixed and just do 2. And then in here, we can just do this dot get accuracy normalized times 100. And then our output should basically still be the same in regards to accuracy. And then you can just say projectile manager.proto. You can say get speed for accuracy. pretty much just going to say return 1 minus accuracy normalized. Or maybe we don't need a function for this, but the context helps. Then for projectile speed, we can just say this dot get speed for accuracy, typing analyzer dot get accuracy normalized. Oh, no. Yeah, so this actually does work. Speed plus 1 minus accuracy normalized multiplied by this dot extra speed. So I don't feel like this is going any faster. I'm just gonna say console long.prop speed. Doesn't feel like it's any faster. Wait, now I'm realizing I think I messed up. In this version, your speed actually gets faster the lower accuracy you have. Because if you have 100% accuracy, you would have 0 extra speed. So I think what I actually want is accuracy normalized. So this dot extra speed, when you have 0 accuracy, you'd have 0. Right. So I feel like this right. And I think it's actually harder to feel the difference. So to give and let me I can't even, this thing is in the way. I'll make the screen slightly bigger. This should I guess I'm not missing that much. So if I start missing a lot, So now my accuracy is down. I think I see what the issue is. You're never really going to be that. People's accuracy isn't going to be that low. This is why I wanted to use the Gaussian thing. I wanted to reward the difference between 80 and 85% accuracy. But the whole thing, it also might just be a complicated system because only your last 50 keys show you your accuracy. And it's important to create that loop of losing what you got and also getting it back. But I want the difference between 88 and 100 to feel massive. It just doesn't feel that way right now. So you should be able to feel it as soon as you should be able to feel it. I just realized I forgot to unpause the recording, but that's it. We'll be back tomorrow. I was still gonna do some today, but yeah.